You've heard that there's been a dramatic increase in violence against Asian Americans. There have been a lot of stories about it in the media, and factually that seems true. In New York alone, authorities say there has been a 1,900% increase in violence against Asian Americans. The question is, why is this happening? Joe Biden has suggested it's happening because people on the right, probably white supremacists, have tied the coronavirus to China. So it's white supremacy.
Vicious hate crimes against Asian Americans who've been attacked, harassed, blamed, and scapegoated. At this very moment, so many of them are fellow Americans. They're on the front lines of this pandemic trying to save lives. And still, they're forced to live in fear for their lives just walking down streets in America.
So again, Joe Biden is tying these crimes, which are real, to the right. He's saying anyone who talks about where the violence or where the virus came from, talks about how it may have escaped from a lab, is abetting violence against Asian Americans. That's why Asian Americans are being attacked. But it's a lie. The attackers don't look like Trump voters necessarily.
The terrifying encounter on February 25th captured on surveillance video. The attacker brutally assaulted her first with a weapon that appeared to be a rock in a sock.
I felt the impact, and next thing I knew, I was on the ground and I was suffocating in my own blood in the mask.
The accused attacker, 41-year-old Sean Holdup, is a former FDNY EMT with a violent past. With so many other attacks nationwide happening against Asians, many of them in Chinatowns, NASU believes she was indeed targeted for being Asian American.
Well, it's just awful. But notice the immediate need of people like Joe Biden and the rest of his party to make this into political ammunition. These kind of attacks are going on all over the country. In Philadelphia on Tuesday, for example, police have confirmed that a motorcyclist attacked an Asian American driver and began hitting him with cinder blocks. Here's part of it.
Oh! No, bro. No. Chill. Chill that, yo.
Is it really Republican racists doing this, as Joe Biden suggested last night and so many other Democrats have told us? Ying is the author of Chinese Girl in the Ghetto, and she joins us tonight. Ying, thanks so much for coming on. So the left has tried to politicize.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. This violence from the very beginning, which seems low and divisive, but it also seems incorrect. What is your view of what's happening?
Well, it is not only incorrect, it is despicable. So let me first say that racism against Asian Americans or racism against anybody is not acceptable. And I don't doubt that to some extent the COVID virus has increased hostility or resentment or racist attitudes among some white people. However, in the most horrific attacks that we've seen on video, widely available to the public, time and time again, the attackers are not white. Like you said, they don't quite look like white supremacists. They don't look like white voters or Trump voters. And in fact, many of these attacks have occurred in heavily Democratic cities where they did not vote for Trump in 2020 or 2016. And so what the Democrats or the far left have done actually quite effectively in the past year or so is to libel former President Trump for something that the Democrats themselves actually are very much guilty of. And what is that? And that is their silence and their cowardice before Black on Asian attacks that often occur in America's urban areas. And these are attacks I've written about for decades, the past 2 decades at least. And I've written about them in my book, Chinese Girl in the Ghetto. And I know that they have occurred frequently well before President Trump came onto the national political scene. And we're not talking about racial animus between the two races, but what we are talking about is that we must be honest.
I don't think you're allowed to be honest. I think that's the most severe crime you can commit right now, but I'm grateful that you're willing to risk punishment by doing it anyway. Ying Ma, thank you so much. Good to see you.
Tucker, thanks very much for having me.